Hello. So I just wanted to pop on here quickly to do a video about signs if your fearful avoidant attachment has been triggered. So if you know you have a fearful avoidant attachment style, or if you're curious to know if maybe you do, I just want to talk quickly about some of the signs and things that might come up for you. So in case you don't know, fearful avoidant attachment is the attachment style that is a mix of both the anxious attachment and avoidant attachment style. So this is when you find yourself in a push-pull kind of energy when getting intimate with someone, getting into a relationship with someone, even just dating. You'll sometimes be wanting to go towards them and sometimes be wanting to run away. So you have the anxious tendency where you can be hypervigilant about someone pulling away and the loss of connection and getting really anxious about that. And then as they start to come toward you and they start to get closer and more intimate, then you'll also have this avoidant tendency where you are suddenly afraid of too much closeness and too much intimacy, and you want to create space and push them away. So you'll have that internal push-pull happening. And this is built around a trust wound. So this is where we've had experiences in the past, could have been in childhood, could have been in previous romantic relationships, where things happened and we learned that we did not trust other people. We could not trust other people, and therefore we also have a lack of trust in ourselves as well. So it will be a trust wound that's kind of like all around. So what will happen because of this is that you can get stuck in your head really overanalyzing everything that a man does, because you start to question his motives and intentions, and you don't trust that maybe he would just want you for you, and you don't trust yourself to choose the right man. And so there's all this stuff coming up and you just totally get stuck in your head. So here are some signs that your fearful avoidant attachment may have been activated. So if you find yourself starting to question a man's motives without really solid evidence or solid reasons that you should, you just find yourself doing that, and you'll find yourself wondering, like, why did he text me that? Why did he say that to me? Why did he do that? He must be thinking X about me. He must be taking advantage of me, or think I'm easy, or not be serious about me, or he's a player. Like, all of these things, these questioning his motives is going to come up, right? And so you start to really get in your head about it, trying to figure it out, and you're starting to really question him, right? Why is he trying to do this? What does this mean? And you'll find that you start to tell yourself a little bit of a story about it, right? Because you're asking, what does this mean? And then you've got this story that starts to go, and you suddenly feel like you should pull away, because clearly he's a player. Clearly he's not serious about you and his motives aren't good, right? And then you'll start to pull away. So this is that push-pull. You're really into him, and suddenly now you're not. You're pulling back. You're nervous. You're afraid, right? And the deeper fear is that, of course, he wouldn't have pure motives with me, right? Of course, he wouldn't take me seriously. And this is the trust wound, right? About not feeling good enough, right? Not feeling like someone who you choose, a man that you really like, is going to choose you, is really going to like you without some kind of ulterior motive. So for example, you may have a first date with a man and it goes really well, but then after the date, you worry that you came off too much this way or too much that way. And, you know, maybe his intentions aren't really that good. He must think something about you that you don't want him to think, like, I'm easy, for example. And so, you know, he says to you, for example, you know, you might not hear from me for a little bit. I'm going to be really busy with work. I'd really love to see you as soon as I'm through that. And then, this is an example that came up recently, then he messages you that week, something kind of innocuous like, hi, are you still smiling, or something like that. And on the date, you had some interpretation of the way that he might have taken you not seriously, right? Or the way that he just isn't serious, because we're the fearful avoidant, you're questioning motives, right? And so your mind immediately goes to, oh, I knew he thought that I was easy, or I knew he wasn't serious. Here he is texting me. He said he wasn't going to text me for a week. You know, clearly he's got bad intentions with this text, and what does this mean? And then we start spinning out into all these stories, right? So then you might find yourself feeling like confused and annoyed and angry and just like in this like can't get out of it kind of thing, right? And then at this point, you'll be like wanting to throw in the towel. You'll just like want to walk away. This is too complicated. Clearly I'm not trusting him, and like this is when you walk away, right? So you're confused, you're spinning out into stories and making all of these things mean different things from your past interaction. You're trying to reinterpret it and look at it again. And it's likely that you're going to be seeing this through a negative lens and through a negative light. You're going to see yourself probably in the way that you were in whatever past situation you think this came from, and him in a negative light, because this is the trust wound, this is the negative self-view, negative view of others. So rather than going to, oh my gosh, he just texted me, he wasn't supposed to text me for a whole week, oh that's so sweet, he must really like me, he's thinking about me, he said he wasn't going to text and now he's done it, so clearly, maybe he's a little hooked on me even, and just like feeling happy to hear from him and feeling good about it. This is not where your mind goes. Instead, it immediately goes to the negative, right? So if you were not stuck in this fearful, avoidant kind of trap, you would actually go to, of course he reached out early, of course he likes me, why would he not like me? That wouldn't be the question, right? So if you have fearful, avoidant tendencies, you're going to have this tendency to read negatively into situations with men about yourself and about men. And so your trust wound will be activated pretty easily because you secretly have this lower opinion of yourself that no one could really tell just by looking at you. This is part of your secret. Hi. That you have this lower opinion of yourself, but this is not something people can just tell by looking at you, right? You're really good at coming across as confident and coming across as all of these things that you want to be seen as, right? But when we have a fearful, avoidant attachment, what we tend to do is sabotage good things because it feels better to just end it than to have to deal with that inner mental turmoil, right? Having to deal with all those stories and all those thoughts and all that stress and anxiety about what does all this mean, and we're spinning out, and it's going to be so much easier to just be like, oh no, throw in the towel, done. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't think he means what he says, or he isn't who he says, or what he appears to be, right? And all the questions of like, what does he want? What does he mean? It's too much, right? And so what we'll do is we'll throw in the towel and walk away, and we'll sabotage the good thing, or what could have been a good thing. It's just so much easier to push him away than have to think about it. And so this is why my fearful avoidance, sometimes you ladies are single for years and years because of this, right? And this is why when you start dating someone, it can be really hard to objectively see if a person is a red flag or if your triggers are getting activated. And this is one reason that it is so valuable to have a coach, somebody who can show you what might be truth and what might be story, what might be a trigger and what might be accurate, right? And to work through those triggers so they stop just coming up all the time and actually clear them so that you can stop acting out from these old patterns. Because what we'll do is we'll just act out the old patterns unless we have something else, unless we have another way, right, to work through it. And if those patterns and those triggers are still there, they're going to keep coming up, right? That's just what happens. So somebody else to help you objectively to show you like where your interpretations might not be accurate, where the stories might be coming from, right? And where that trigger is coming from, and actually to clear out that trigger so you stop getting triggered around that, right? Learning to trust yourself more and differentiate between real red flags and triggers, because that's really the fearful avoidant is. It's just so difficult to tell between those two things. To you will feel like the same. And some of you know my story. This is my story, that I have major fearful avoidant attachment, right, as a result of experiences in relationship early in when I started dating, right? One relationship that really set me off so that I was so mistrustful and of myself, of other men, right, and questioning motives. This is what had me running away from men who were actually good men, but I couldn't see outside of the trigger, right, and outside of what was mine and what was his. So rewiring these patterns and clearing those core wounds that they come from is the key to then healing that avoidant attachment style. So you can actually be secure and have the relationship you really want, have that from a place that feels so good, right? That you get to feel good being you, in you, on dates with other people. It's such a gift when you actually are able to do that. Such a different experience of life. And of course, that's what I'm here for too. So you can, of course, message me. I have spots available for one-on-one coaching. I would love to talk to you, so send me a message, and I will see you later. Bye.